One mechanical difference. That's all that separates a revolver from a semi-automatic pistol. A rotating cylinder on one side, a self-cycling slide, and detachable magazine on the other. That single distinction created every key advantage and disadvantage between these two platforms across nearly 2 centuries of American firearms history. But this rivalry almost never existed because the revolver itself nearly died before it ever saw a battlefield. Samuel Colt stepped into the firearms world with a patent that, on paper, changed everything. On February 25th, 1836, the United States Patent Office granted Colt the rights to his revolving cylinder handgun, a design that allowed a shooter to fire 5 or 6 shots in quick succession without reloading. This was a leap over the single-shot pistols and muskets that dominated the era. Colt's invention combined a single-action trigger, a cylinder locking bar, and percussion caps in a package that could, for the first time, be mass-produced. Yet the market wasn't ready. Shooters on the American frontier and in the cities alike still placed their trust in the familiar: muskets for range, single-shot pistols for close defense. The idea of a repeating sidearm seemed untested and, to many, unnecessary. Colt's Patent Arms Manufacturing Company opened its doors in Paterson, New Jersey that same year, turning out several models, most notably the .28 caliber pocket model and the .36 caliber No. 5 holster revolver. Despite the technical promise, sales lagged. The revolver's complexity, higher price, and the public's skepticism kept demand low. Production estimates suggest only about 2,500 units left the factory before the company collapsed into bankruptcy in 1842. Colt's repeating handgun was workable, but the broader market clung to older weapons. The innovation had arrived before most buyers were willing to trust it, and the revolver's future looked anything but certain. The outbreak of the Mexican-American War in 1846 changed the fate of the revolver overnight. Demand for a reliable, powerful sidearm brought Texas Ranger Captain Samuel H. Walker to Samuel Colt's door. Walker had seen firsthand the limitations of earlier handguns and pressed Colt for a weapon that could match the needs of mounted troops. The result was the Walker Colt, a 6-shot .44 caliber revolver with a 9-inch barrel and a frame strong enough to handle heavy powder charges. The U.S. government ordered 1,000 of these revolvers in 1847, and field reports from the Texas Rangers and U.S. Mounted Riflemen credited the Walker with delivering rifle-like stopping power at close range. This contract revived Colt's business, providing the financial and battlefield proof needed to push the revolver into the American mainstream. For decades, revolver design followed this template: a single-action mechanism, a rotating cylinder, and a focus on ruggedness over speed. Even as double-action triggers and swing-out cylinders surfaced in the late 19th century, the heart of the system, manual cylinder rotation, remained unchanged. The revolver's reliability and simplicity kept it at the center of American sidearms well into the 20th century. Then, in 1911, John Browning upended the pattern. His new pistol for the U.S. Army, adopted as the M1911, introduced a self-cycling slide, a detachable 7-round magazine, and a flat profile that fit closer to the body. The M1911's short recoil operation and .45 ACP cartridge delivered both speed and stopping power. It served as the standard U.S. military sidearm from 1911 until 1985, a 74-year run that spanned 2 world wars: Korea, Vietnam, and the early years of the Cold War. Browning's design set the template for the modern pistol, breaking the revolver's long hold on the American handgun market. Every practical difference between revolvers and semi-automatic pistols starts with how they handle ammunition and cycling. A revolver keeps its cartridges in a rotating cylinder. Each chamber is a separate compartment, and with every pull of the trigger or a manual cock of the hammer, the cylinder turns, lining up a fresh round with the barrel. This rotation is powered by the shooter's own hand, not by the energy of the shot. The system is direct and self-contained. What you do with your finger or thumb is what moves the gun forward. A semi-automatic pistol, by contrast, stores its rounds in a magazine inside the grip. When a shot is fired, the force of recoil drives the slide backward. This single motion ejects the spent casing, compresses a spring, and then, as the slide returns forward, strips a new cartridge from the magazine and chambers it. The process is automatic. One shot sets up the next, ready for another trigger pull. This split, rotation versus self-cycling, creates nearly every trade-off that follows. The revolver's simplicity means fewer moving parts and a direct mechanical link between the shooter and the next shot. The pistol's self-cycling action allows for faster follow-up shots and quicker reloading, but introduces more moving parts and a reliance on ammunition power and spring tension. Understanding this core difference is key to grasping why each system excels under certain conditions and faces limits in others. Mechanical simplicity sits at the heart of the revolver's reputation for reliability. With fewer moving parts and no feeding mechanism, a well-made revolver shrugs off many of the stoppages that plague semi-automatic pistols. There's no magazine to misalign, no slide to short stroke, and no extractor to lose tension. Pull the trigger, and the cylinder rotates. A new chamber lines up, ready for the next shot. Feeding jams, so common in semi-automatics, simply don't happen in a classic revolver design. But when a revolver does fail, the stakes are different. The most notorious issue is bullet creep, where recoil causes a bullet to shift forward in its case, locking the cylinder and freezing the gun. Clearing this kind of stoppage often means reaching for tools, or at the very least, removing the cylinder and physically resetting the bullet. In a high-pressure moment, that's a far cry from a quick fix. Semi-automatic pistols introduce more complexity. The slide, magazine, and recoil spring all work in sequence, and each can be a source of trouble. Stovepipes, where a spent casing hangs up in the ejection port, or failures to feed are the most common problems. Yet these stoppages are usually cleared in seconds with a practice tap, rack, and go. A shooter can return to action with a simple motion, and in most cases, without special tools. Reliability, though, doesn't come down to design alone. Build quality and maintenance matter just as much. A dirty revolver can misalign its cylinder, just as a poorly maintained pistol can jam repeatedly. But the real-world difference often shows up in capacity. Most revolvers top out at 5 or 6 rounds. Modern pistols, from the 1911 7-round magazine to today's 17-round double stacks, offer far more shots before a reload. That gap in ammunition count, especially in law enforcement and self-defense, has pushed many agencies and civilians towards semi-automatics, where more rounds and faster recovery from stoppages tilt the balance in their favor. Reloading becomes the crucible where revolver and pistol design face their sharpest test. With a traditional revolver, each spent round must be replaced one at a time. Even skilled hands need several seconds to swing out the cylinder, eject empties, and thumb in fresh cartridges. The process is deliberate, mechanical, and under pressure, it can feel endless. The invention of the speed loader changed the game. Now, 6 cartridges can be dropped into the cylinder in a single motion. This tool, first patented in the late 19th century and refined through the 20th, brought revolver reload times down to the 2-second mark for practiced shooters. Still, each reload demands a break in rhythm and a steady hand. The semi-automatic pistol, by contrast, turns reloading into a fluid, almost instinctive action. Drop the empty magazine, slam in a fresh one, and the slide chambers the next round. Competitive shooters routinely swap magazines in under 2 seconds, sometimes closer to 1. There is no need to align 6 cartridges or rotate a cylinder. Just one motion and the pistol is ready to fire again. In the hands of someone trained, this difference is decisive. When every second counts, the pistol's magazine system transforms reload speed from a liability into an advantage, separating it from the revolver in the most high-pressure moments. Modern revolvers and semi-automatic pistols each carve out their own place in today's world, shaped by how they handle maintenance and adapt to changing needs. A revolver firing standard jacketed ammunition can often go 1,000 to 1,500 rounds before a thorough cleaning is needed, thanks to its simple action and fewer moving parts. Semi-automatic pistols, while more complex, typically run best when cleaned and lubricated every 1,200 rounds to keep their slide, magazine, and springs working smoothly. The revolver's cylinder design allows shooters to safely fire cartridges of very different power levels in the same gun, from mild target loads to heavy magnums, without swapping parts or adjusting springs. That flexibility keeps revolvers popular for hunting, backup carry, and home defense, where reliability and adaptability matter most. Meanwhile, semi-automatic pistols dominate military, law enforcement, and everyday carry roles, where higher capacity and fast reloads are essential. Both systems remain active tools, neither one a relic, because each continues to solve real problems for different users. Every design choice still shapes real-world outcomes, at the range, on patrol, or in the field. Today, law enforcement overwhelmingly favors semi-automatics, yet millions trust revolvers for their proven reliability. The right tool is the one that matches the mission. The debate endures because both answers still matter.